As both Anchi and Brandy already laid out the theme and subject for today in a very rich way, I would skip the introduction to the roundtable, but I'd like to introduce Healoha Johnston, who is Director of the Cultural Resource and Curator of Hawaii Pacific Arts and Culture, and lead curator of the Pacific Pipeline Initiative at the Bishop Museum, which is one of our long-standing partners. And beyond her role at the Bishop Museum, where like major project of repatriation going on, she as a Kanaka Maoli curator and art historian, as a long-term advocate for Aloha Āina. So we need a break as a human being, but yeah, we cannot do the same thing as a fest park opening. So let's try together to the stage. Okay. Okay. I mean, so like, as some of you, I mean, many of you already been to the Bishop Museum, so it's very, very busy, festive, truly festive moment, and Healoha is in charge of the place. So I'm really grateful she made the time. She could be here with us, and we feel very lucky. Yeah. But that means a little bit more tuning time now needed. So please use this moment to get water. We have a water in the green room.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you. We still have time for that response, so thank you. Yes, I know we're all in a rush. We figured out solutions. We won't keep everyone late. Mahalo for the introduction. I'm Healoha, and in the interest of time, each of us up here is going to introduce themselves with their name, where they're from, and who they brought into the space. And so with that, I would like to, I'll start with myself and then I'll join the group. I'm from Kuli'o'o, and I didn't realize actually until I heard Brandy talking about where she was in 1993 that I realized that I brought my tutu into the space with me today. Made me very aware of that. Thank you, Brandy. Tiare?
Aloha kako. My name is Tiare Ribeaux. I grew up here on Oahu'alua, between Kaimuki and Palolo Valley. The family I bring in with me is Anna Kamakahulilani Kawaiʻaiʻa from Kaupo, Maui. So that's my great tutu.
Soy mulowayi. Soy parte del colectivo de Las Nietas de Nonó. I'm mulowayi. I'm part of the collective Las Nietas de Nonó. I'm a visual artist and community organizer.
Aloha mai. Nanea Lum. I'm from Kahalu'u, but I'm living in Nu'uanu at the moment. I'm a visual artist in Honolulu, but today I'm bringing with me Abigail Harbottle. And that's a name that I'm learning from my grandfather, Daniel's son Lum. And so those are the people I'm bringing with me today. Mahalo.
Aloha, my kako. My name is Shannon Te Ao. Flying in from Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I want to acknowledge the crew that I flew in with as well. We're a bit of a whānau, I guess, so I'm here with all of us. And I guess today I'm going to bring my dad and my nan. And my kids wanted to be here so bad, but they're not coming today, so I'll just bring my grandmother and my father.
So we have a lot of people here with us in this space. And so I'll just share with all of you the structure of the conversation today and ask that you reserve your questions until the end, if Rosina lets us have them. What we are going to do, though, is go through a series of questions. So today's panel is about Aloha Āina. And we've already learned a lot about that from the first two speakers. And from those two speakers who just preceded us, we also learned that even folks from Aina can also share attributes of Aloha Āina, and that we can find connection through that. And so although the people up here might not necessarily be who all of us here might look to as experts on Aloha Āina, some of them are not from Hawaii, there's a through line by understanding Aloha Āina that we can find in each other. And so I'm going to pose a question, and each speaker will respond. And they will do so beautifully, briefly. And we'll follow up with more dialogue later, I think. Yes, so I'm gonna begin with the question. As I mentioned, the title of the panel is Aloha Āina, That Which Feeds. So that's the title. That's not me defining Aloha Āina. Aloha Āina, That Which Feeds, which suggests that we are nourished not merely by Āina, but Aloha Āina, which has been translated as love of land and love of country. There is a political dimension to Aloha Āina. It is often expressed in struggles centered on sovereignty, land, water, and in opposition to systems of oppression. And so I invite each of them to share their own connection to ancestral roots in place or displacement from, as well as the political impulse through their work.
Thank you for just posing these questions that I think are so important. Kind of in these discussions, I think also along with FESPAC, all of our cousins kind of gathered on our Āina, and thinking about that which connects us also politically to displacement of Āina. For me, it's often been looking at Āina as an extension of our bodies ancestrally as kanaka, and the heva that has been done to Āina is also felt by us. And so thinking about themes that I've seen throughout other talks, kind of displacement of peoples and lands through military occupation and poisoning, pollution due to these kind of these occupying forces. My work has kind of touched on the recent Red Hill fuel leaks that were happening in Ewa, and that connection to Pearl Harbor, and that historical connection to kind of the naval occupation, and how fuel has really been leaking into our one aquifer here on Oahu, and how that affects the health of our people. And so previous work has kind of looked into that poetically, thinking again how vai is a source of life, and caring for that vai, caring for that Āina is critical to the health not only of us as individuals, but of our land and of everyone here. It's mostly military families that have been getting sick who live on that Āina. So, and then thinking about how that Āina is cared for by practitioners who have been here since time immemorial. There are still families who are caring for Āina in Vaiava, who are caretaking local i'a there, and growing kalo, despite the soil that might be very poisoned nearby in a Superfund site. They're still malaming that Āina, and through doing that, endangered species are returning, endangered birds. So, I think my work kind of spans from talking about that poetically to actually capturing these stories, kind of like sort of documentary style as well. So yeah, that's kind of like a brief.
Fia Bagdadien de Metauon, Onagu, Niwaneomi, La Waiba Segutumihi Fi Metauon, Onagu, Niwaneomi, Fiovo segu keyondo tamihi fimeta uwon onagu niwaneomi. Kramba wala wan wo iklo alpa empa me kepamiwa. I just read a spur excerpt from the video performance Fructopia, Después de Todo Territorio. I put the link in my bio, Instagram bio, if you can check, it's 27 minutes. It's a fictional language I create with my sibling, Mapensi. Our language, my identity, my worldview, my tradition has been interrupted. The language that connected us as a family and community is now forbidden to us, which is a threat to the body, to physical existence. I have to reconstruct the meaning of thing. Fiction is an alternative resource to create new realities, meanings, rituals, ceremony, way to be. The memory of the body will help piece together the fragmented. There is not place. The play now is the body. If I recover a language, I recover a connection with my ancestor. My work will always have a political dimension, even without intending it. All my expression come from within, from my traumas, from my healing process, from my desire to transformation and change. Before the 28 days of performance, eating only from the land and hunting for Fructopia, we visited Seli. This is not a photo, but a woman who lived in an Afro community on the east coast of Borinquen. The town is called Loíza. He's very close and near to my town. We visited her to learn about the land and food as a kind of preparation that will help us to survive those days. Sally shared many stories with me about sharing food while we cooked open a coconut and peeled crab. Preserving ancestral and popular wisdom is an act of love and recognition. And Sally was so eager to share everything she knew. She told me, I have to share everything with you because no one wants to know about our Afro-Indigenous culinary anymore. Everyone wants to eat food that is already prepared and doesn't want to put any effort. Those days of fighting for food to nourish ourselves were days of much labor, walking, cleaving, creating a tool to reach fruit, and learning to set a hook. If we had to hunt all the meat we eat daily, there will be no time to work. Capitalism. Send an email after meeting a day of work for a salary. If you have to cultivate all the food you consume, our relation with the land will be different, and also with ourselves. If we have time to listen to each other and learn from the popular wisdom of people in our community, we will be more connected to each other.
Looks like my slide. Yeah, this is kind of where me and my work begin, really. I'll be quick, so don't panic. Just to let everyone know where we're at, this is the North Island of Aotearoa. And on your right is Tauponuiatia, one of our Great Lakes. And you can see two stars located on both of those maps. And that's, I guess, significant for me for a bunch of reasons, and significant for my work for a bunch of reasons. For the last, I guess, almost 10 years, it has been the sole place that I make and imagine work in. It was also the place where my father and grandmother are buried. Yeah, Josh, can you go to the next slide, please? Awesome. On both of those stars exist these two marae and these two ancestral houses. And so I guess when I really start to think about who and where I am and where I'm from, this place is profound in all the ways you can really imagine. I was actually born in Australia, and so I grew up in a place where if you didn't assimilate very quickly, they told you to fuck off. They told you to go back to where you came from. As someone who was born there, that was like super perplexing, actually. But then as I kind of grew older, I knew that wasn't my home. And so Aotearoa has always been my home, will always be my home. And I suppose what I'm really kind of interested in as an artist is how being home is the most liberating thing you can do. Can I show one more slide? Yeah, this is an example of the kind of work I make. This is I suppose a photographic image. I don't really know what to call it. It's kind of like a filmic image. It's kind of like a still moving image. But I suppose what you're looking at is documentation of a print that is printed from a large format negative, which captures a live performance in front of a projected moving backdrop. And I'm kind of hooked on this idea that filmic space somehow relates to the social and cultural imagination. And so all of my work stirs around the same kind of setting. And in fact, it's quite a significant small stretch of road. It's actually for the last maybe 2 or 3 major projects that I've made. I've explored a kind of 30-second sequence of film as a backdrop to, I don't know, activate all kinds of things, really. But I suppose the questions that I want to ask is like, where am I? When am I? How am I? And what the hell is all that, you know? And so I don't really like to define where the work's depict, but I like to suspend, I guess, the layers of their making just to help me suspend my own calibration in life, really. That's enough.
Aloha Āina. That's my sign that I made. I wanted to start answering the questions like kind of immediately with material from my studio. These are my habits and these are my motivations. Almost the minute I say something, I'm following through with it. And so Aloha Āina, that's the teaching for me, is when you grow up and are cultured in Hawaii, you're having change happen to you and having change happen to the Āina simultaneously. And so you're cultured in this family environment, and we have sources of knowledge that are revealed to us when it happens. And so for me in my life, I didn't really trust my text-based knowledge. I trusted my wordless knowledge. I come from a painting background. And there was a time when painting was my academic goal, and then I started to just want to be an artist. And my motivation for that was always Aloha Āina. And so for people who are first seeing my work, kind of the basis of information that they need to take in is that I'm connected to land and sea and everything that is Āina. And I make interventions whenever possible to establish my sovereignty. The things that were taken away from my ancestors, like permanent places to live and language to share. Money was something that drove a lot of disconnection from Āina. And so I am trying to make my art with as little capital interest as possible, to really intervene in conceptual and contemporary art for Hawaiians here in Hawaii. And so these are the results of all of that interactivity, the aloha for my Āina. I'm making signs and leaving behind these ephemeral bits for people to really analyze themselves and ask questions about their belonging and where the sources of that belonging will will come from so that they can be resourceful or renewable in a way. So ʻāina and Aloha Āina are all renewing your source of being connected to ʻāina. So this is one last kind of bit of that academic environment that I come from, trying to leave a sign for people to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's because of the erasure of our Hawaiian language, and so a lot of my titles and communications are in both English and Hawaiian, as I am both English and Hawaiian.
Mahalo, thank you. Aloha Āina spans across generations. Many of us Aloha Āina today reference the Aloha Āina of 1890s who protested against American annexation to preserve Hawaii's independence, and the Aloha Āina who spearheaded the 1970s Hawaiian Renaissance. Being an Aloha Āina means being part of a lineage. And I would like to ask the artists if they could share how, aspects of their practice might be related to memory or the act of recalling, genealogical connectedness, or multi-generational struggle through either media, concept, or method, for example.
Can I get slides?
Yes,
I missed the ones from earlier.
right here.
Yeah, to be an artist in Hawaii means to be sitting here on the stage talking about Aloha Āina is really due to all of the movements that you mentioned, from the ku'e petitions that I wear on this dress, where most Hawaii people, or most Kanaka Maoli, descend from someone who signed a petition, because the people who signed at that time were almost the majority all Hawaiians, against the annexation, against the illegal occupation of our lands, and the illegal overthrow. And then, through that time was just this repression of our language, repression of our culture, our spirituality, so many of our practices that so many of our kupuna and our ancestors had to hold on really tightly and ku'e, and just really be firm in never relinquishing, well, for one, their sovereignty, and that's in the apology law. In 1993, we have the formal apology from President Clinton at the time that we have never relinquished our sovereignty. So there's that. And then through that, again, the Renaissance, I think that we can kind of recall it as the 60s and 70s, but I want to say that whole time there was this underground movement of keeping the language alive, of keeping the practices alive, and this kind of upsurgence and visibility of our practices in culture and revival of language through the different immersion schools that popped up through Punana Leo and all that work. It shows up in our work as artists, in naming things in Olelo Hawaii, in just, almost not even, in my film work, for instance, I do more film, new media, video installation stuff, but sometimes I don't translate words in Olelo Hawaii, and I just kind of let it live in the context and have people do the work to translate it themselves. And then trying to find that balance, right, of what does need to be translated and what is non-negotiable and what we need people to understand. So I think being an artist is balancing those things. So my work really stems from this huge lineage, and artists, all the artists before me, all the work of the Meyer family that are in the audience here, and just to provide space, the contact exhibitions that Josh put on, just even asking us questions and allowing us to have this space to create work and present work, like the Aipohaku exhibitions. It's just, I think of myself and my craft as a vessel to continue to tell the stories of our people and to translate it in ways that I might be able to do in a specific way. And that's really the work, is just how it flows through me as a translator, I would say. One more, sorry. It's not going to be 3 or 4 minutes, sorry. But just, yeah, I think for the D-mill work, because we talked about political stuff, you know, the movements like Ho'olawe and the reclamation of that, and, well, even though it's still, yeah, and this is, really quickly, just the first pier that they were trying to build in Pearl Harbor. And there was Kanaka who at the time were telling them, don't build that, that's the home of Ka'ahupahau. So these mo'olelos, these stories of our ancestors who were sometimes had the shape of like sharks, or aumakua who were protecting and looking out for us, you know, like these stories continue to live on in the stories we tell. So this is a pier that was the first pier to be built in Pearl Harbor, that was given warning not to build and then imploded and was just like destroyed kind of mysteriously after warnings that it was above the home of Ka'ahupahau and where Ka'ahupahau, which was a shark god, was fed. So, you know, as long as we continue to tell these stories of Ka'ahupahau continuing to live on in Pearl Harbor, we can remember like how to continue, that the protection still lives there. Like, so I'm trying to integrate that, yes.
In the world of our collective, Las Nietas de Nonó, there is always a community component. Community is key. The word unify could be appropriate. It alleviates the sensation of fragmentation. Community dinners have taken place in various locations such as Loíza, San Antón, this is in Borinquen, London and Rome. This is the only feature. Okay. Thank you. We invite like African diaspora who wish to eat and share memories around food. During the gathering, we pass around a notebook for anyone who wishes to write. Food connect with almost everything, if not everything. I reflect on how geography, climate, and topography influence what we eat. If I live in a colony within a government residential project, my diet, the food is likely lacking in nutrient. If I have so many memories from the time I live as a child in a residential project, but no one includes fresh fruit in that apartment kitchen. The most recurring memory include opening a can to eat. The deterioration of a malnourished body is a prolonged and costly death. At community dinners, beside eating, we create a nourishing and communal space that allows us to heal through affection, flavors, and memory. In the photo is Jason. Near in the end, when the dinner was almost over, Jason separated from the group and created a sort of time capsule that distanced us all. He delves deeply into the notebook to write about memory related to food. At the community dinner we organized, we pass around this notebook and people write down their memory, leaving them anonymously. This collective memory belongs to everyone. We choose writing because it's a proof of our existence. A record, a rewriting of erased history. The notebook, as long as we continue this dinner, will be a book written by affection community.
Oh, okay, so just to recap, our answers are about memory and genealogy. Okay. Well, I guess I can talk a little bit about my thesis. When I was studying art, I titled my body of work Eia Kekumu, and that was in inspiration from the title of a compendium of Hawaiian knowledge, Nana I Kekumu. And so finding those sources as somebody who's relearning Hawaiian language and being able to be politically active as an adult, I wanted to make a source of knowledge that people could follow, which was personal and relational. And so I created a body of work called Eia Kekumu so that the memory of who came before me to politically activate my identity as a Hawaiian artist. That was really important to me. So after finishing that, I wanted to make an even more personal body of work called Helea Ho'i, and that can be translated to go until you return, or I had to create a full circle in my knowledge of learning things not just once, but maybe twice, and knowing that as we are in process, like my work is a constant processing of material. You can be caught in different points of the circle, not knowing where there would be a finish or an end. And so the message is to keep going, to keep transposing your work as personally as you can, while connecting it to your ancestors and also being generous to the next generation. So being brave is something that I think I'm getting from my ancestry right now. And I'm thankful that I'm using projection work, because that is like a projection of memory. And so I'm about to do a really important project which would bring back the memory of a stream into its original place, where it has been diverted, and our current experience of it is just a road or a pathway inside of a city. And so because of my collective memory with my ancestors, where they shared water from mountain to the sea, and there was free access to water with your work, your hana. You perpetually work so that you can feed your family. And so I want to do this work so that I can return the water of Nu'uanu stream to its original flow as a kind of moment, a cultural moment of remembrance. So that's how I'm tying myself to memory, is just to keep pushing the expectation of what we can create with our memories.
Got any little pictures there, Josh?
It's loading.
Oh yeah, thank you. This is not my work. This is a work made by my grandmother, Makariro Arangi Toheriri. In 2005, she passed away about 5 years after that. And I love this work, and it helps me love art, this work. The title of Nan's work is Abstract of What Was or Could Be Today. I was like, wow. Actually, can we go to the next slide, Josh? You can see like her amazing handwriting here. And also, there's I guess an acknowledgement of the location. Punifakata is the name of the reserve that Nan made this painting. Can we go back to the picture again? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, it's a store-bought canvas. Nan was a completely untrained artist. She probably didn't start painting until she was well into her 70s. By the time she passed away, she probably amassed, I don't know, several hundred paintings, sketches, sketchbooks, really inspiring stuff. And so that went out to all the grandkids and all the kids as we're kind of packing up her house. This one currently lives in one of my children's bedrooms. But I'd had it for a few years, and when I flipped it over and I saw the inscription and saw the title, I guess the work takes on a new possibility. It's not a realistic rendition. We can already tell that, and you guys haven't even been there. I mean, you can tell that she's probably using cheap paints. Also, the kind of saturations are pretty cooked. She wasn't one for like blending, more for straight out of the tube kind of action. Importantly, though, it is a place that is in the process of being reclaimed environmentally and spiritually. And I think really Nan's title just kind of captured that power in what is like a completely kind of modest painting, and it really did remind me in quite a profound way, kind of like the value of what we're actually trying to do as artists, the possibility for art for almost anyone who is willing to have a go. And also just the I guess the significance of language within all of that too. You know, it could have been called anything, but it wasn't. And so, you know, for Nan, it did operate as something completely politicized, completely aspirational, and, you know, for me, a really significant and potent taonga, we would say back home, you know. So, yeah, maybe we'll go on to the next one. Yeah, and so I kind of, I jam with Nan's painting in one of my own artworks. I like to kind of pay homage to Nan's painting, but also, I guess, her acceptance of that possibility within art. That is, it is a kind of fluid political space of imagination, possibility and aspiration, you know. And so this film, which I call What Was or Could Be Today Again, that's a really poor joke, but anyway, I guess considers Nan's painting back in the actual location of that painting's making, which is still, I guess, the most significant kind of patch of dirt for me in the whole world, in fact. And I guess significantly, like if I think about my grandmother's experience of that place alongside anyone's in the course of history, her existence there is as profound as anyone else's ever. And so I want to kind of consider that as an artist in my own work. And so this work, I guess, pays homage to, I guess, to Nan's painting and two really amazing women, one being my Nan, and the second being one of our most amazing kind of endurance athletes. Her name is Narama Milner Olsen. And I'll fast track what is a cool long story, but Narama was a professional athlete. She played netball, which is, I assume, not something you do in this part of the world. It's what us silly folks in the Antipodes do. And when she retired, she's like, oh, I need a new athletic pursuit. I might give triathlon a go, but I can't swim. And so over the course of like 3 or 5 years, she not only trains herself how to swim, introduces herself into the world of like triathletism, but commits to that to the level that she's probably still regarded within our kind of top 5, top 10 endurance athletes, you know. So I suppose I'm kind of really interested in, you know, how within art you kind of plot what's here and what's there. What's the kind of journey? What happens between one space and another? And kind of how you kind of plot those trajectories.
The last question that I have for our speakers up here today is to first note that, of course, participating in love of land or love of country is an act of giving. And I want to ask how you folks see yourself, your practice, as part of a larger dialogue. And you folks have kind of gotten at that in actually each of your responses. But if you could maybe focus in on how your practice, you know, allows you to connect, and how you see that interconnectivity in collective action, and how that might manifest in your work.
Could we go back to my first slide? Before I talk about this, I wanted to briefly talk about Namaka ʻāina, which is that lineage of where I come from as well. This is Puhipao and John Landers who had this film collective. Kind of just, I don't know how they were everywhere they needed to be to get every story for our Lahui, like over 30, 40 years, but they really covered so much. And last night there was this screening with Kekahi Wahi, which is Drew Broderick and Sansia Miala Shiba, and they were showing the Pico gathering of artists, of all of these artists that, like, Noel was one of them, and the work they did kind of bringing together Moana Nui Akea back then. And, you know, thinking about the work being in community and in dialogue right now, like with Moana Nui Akea, like in Hawaii, is pretty unreal. and then knowing that we come from that lineage of like our peers, you know, in this room, start like doing that, you know, over decades, and then probably was before that. I mean, that's where we all come from, but yeah, it was just pretty unreal to be like, oh wow, this is the community. It's not just Hawaii, it's like Moana Nui Akea. And so that reminder last night with that screening of Pico Gathering of Artists, I think was the title, but I might be wrong. And then, yeah, to just be at FestPac at these different communities, I'm like, wow, this is you know, their craft. There's a lot of traditional crafts going on, but it's you know, it's all connected, and then seeing the connection. So this I wanted to bring up in terms of the kind of closer community, this collaboration I did with Nanea as well at Waiakeakua, which she brought me to this river, which she had done her thesis at, and really to build Pilina with the river, and see how to kilo, to really listen and experience it together as practitioners. So Nanea as a practitioner of kapa making, we brought Liz as a practitioner of lauhala weaving, and Kaliko Pua Noheo Kalani, dancer, and they all kind of how do you say, like, responded to Waiakeakua, and we captured it on film, and then that became that's a part of two different films that we've collaborated on. It was one called Ulukupu, which means like to grow, to germinate, and go to vehe. It has many other meanings. And then it kind of was incepted into Pualewai, which is a newer film I did about the Red Hill incident of the fuel poisoning our islands. And then it was seen as this dream that the character that Lise was playing was having, of this memory of this kind of untouched water and our connection to it. So yeah, I think for me it's been a huge blessing to be in community with all these artists and to really be able to like be inspired by each other's practices and have that feed. You know, it's not like Aloha Āina is we're feeding each other through the work. You know, that's a part of it as well. It's like, and to be able to be in this kind of reciprocal relationship of like feeding and nourishing each other through our practices, that I really see so beautiful here with Hawaii Contemporary as well. So yeah, mahalo for having this conversation.
I'm going to follow up Tiare just because we were looking at a picture of a collaboration that we did, and it involved one of my material practices, kapa. So I have a kapa painting and a kapa.
Got you.
And so this is our bark cloth. If you've visited FestPac, there's all of these beautiful diversities of tapa or kapa making, and I guess that's one place that I am connecting myself in a larger body of or discourse of art, a Pacifica discourse of art, the various disciplines of kapa making. I am interested in the making part. I like the fermentation. I like the plant itself. One way that I'm connecting myself to this history is that I'm doing things that I have never seen before. Kapa was a reclaimed practice from the museums. We have examples of kapa that come from Hawaii that have been preserved, and that was how in the 70s the practitioners of kapa retaught themselves by looking at those examples of kapa that were collected in the museums. And so when I met my kumu of kapa, she was making things her way that I could embody. And so for me, making kapa is about embodying that which was almost forgotten from our history and taking it into your daily life so that it can guide you to make great decisions about ʻāina, time spending, and things that you put into your body, especially. So all of these kapus, when you're learning kapa, can start to put you in balance and in sync with the natural world. And so the symbology that I'm able to print into my kapa comes from the technology of my day and age. I've learned lithography processes, and it's the one way that I can see, as you were saying, a start and an end, like how to initiate making something that you've never seen before. And so taking the digital image and putting it into my material practice with kapa has been a way that I'm diversifying this Pacific connection to history and resistance as well, like to consider that we have to embody this practice so that we can resist these colonial interpretations of our work.
And just real quick, this is a photo that Jason Chu took as well when we was doing that film shoot. So that's fun to see, like the work kind of
Just
coincide.
radical collaboration.
Yeah.
May I have the question one more time, please? Just want to be efficient. Talking about
Interconnectivity and
oh yeah,
action and how that looks in our
thank you. Yeah, I suppose, you know, I just want people to feel. I do want people to feel love when they experience my work, and I don't know. That sounds kind of corny. I guess what I really mean by that is I want people to enjoy space to connect with their own response to my work. You know, I think like that's one of the gifts that we can do as artists is actually help people steal back time to connect with their own position. You know, I you know my work actually requires collaborators at every step of the way. You know, and so you know I bring my nan and my father and my family here with me, but they're also a really important team within each project, you know, so I guess that is becoming kind of more and more fundamental to what I'm doing. And I suppose the thing that you can't hear is the sound in my work. Like everything is a song, and everything is everything is voiced. And I suppose what's kind of useful to me, with that function in the work, is that for me that is like a simple way, and I think you all share it here. It is one way to bring all this noise into some kind of moment of calibration. How do you get your thoughts, your body, your spirit in the same place at the same time? And often in my culture and in lots of our cultures, we sing about it, you know, and we kind of, and so yeah, there's some. That's enough. Thank you. Mahalo.
Thank you. I don't want to read anymore. Let me see the photo. Okay. I was thinking more in that the opportunity in our world to create communities, create a space for people, as opportunity also to the people can share stories. I remember recently, like a exercise we do, we propose to in a community meeting. People can come and share a photo from the album, and that was very beautiful because create like a channel to connecting through image and the story of the image. So as an artist, I'm very interested in like to use my personal archive. So it was like a moment to share with others like the way to connect to our past and being present and go to the future, like taking the time to collect the story and image and preserve it, because I think like that's so important, especially in Borinquen, where the memory always like is something like very weak because we forgot, and I don't know, the history erased like very, very easily in a way. I think the photo is like a record, very precious for every family, because you have the history of your family there in that album, and recognize this in this community meeting, and the people like create like more value for photos. They don't necessarily in that moment recognize, but they create more values about the photos and the importance of preservation.
Okay, no Q&A. But there's still more time together for the rest of the evening, and we're all here, we're all in community and in dialogue, and so we'll continue to share space and conversation throughout the evening. But as we close today's session, may I ask you all to join me in thanking our panelists here for